Well, now, welcome. Please sit down. So, you are both applying for the assistant job I placed in the paper?
Yes, that is correct. Oh, by the way, can I ask about your neck hole?
Yes.
What's with the neck hole?
Well, my jaw was fused in
Mike, don't be rude. Anyways, luckily I found the paper blowing down the street. Honestly, I don't even know where I'd find newspapers to buy anymore.
Splendid. Well, I've looked at your resumes, and I have to say, I'm not sure if your previous work experience qualifies you for what I need in an assistant. I see banking, clerical work, retail, and you are both podcasters. What is a podcast?
Well, we do an audio show where we talk about horror movies and give our opinions on them.
Audio. So it is on the radio?
Well, it's on the internet so people can download it or stream it.
Yes, those are all words that mean nothing in these 1920s. And you get paid to do this show?
Well, obviously not much since we're here.
I see. Well, let me ask you a few questions. Do you have any experience with engineering? If I were to, let's say, design experimental instruments of murder with the intent to eradicate my enemies in a whimsical yet terrifying manner, could you assist me in their construction and delivery?
What?
Well, I helped with my kitchen renovations, and once I put together a Lego Star Wars Millennium Falcon all by myself.
Dude, what are you doing?
What? He asked a question.
Can you drive an automobile? I will need a chauffeur for when I have to go out and exact my revenge on those responsible for the loss of my beloved.
Well, I guess you're out of the running, huh, Mike?
Sheldon, this guy is insane. We gotta get out of here.
Dude, don't worry, he's just eccentric. Maybe a little senile. Come on, this gig pays really well. Let's hear him out.
One more thing. I'll need someone to cook my meals, clean up, help apply my prosthetics each morning.
Okay, that's enough. I'm out.
Really? This is where you draw the line?
Look, I'm not helping some old guy with his prostate.
He said prosthetics.
Whatever, no butt stuff for me. Let's go.
Thank you for the opportunity, mister.
It's Doctor.
Right, well, good luck, Dr. Phibes.
Hey, I think that was the guy from House of Wax.
Jared Padalecki?
What strange men. Oh well, the only other applicant was Miss Valnavia. I guess she gets the job. I like her. So soft-spoken.
Welcome to episode 54 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where each week we watch a movie from the horror category and break it down into the good, the bad, and sometimes the downright confusing. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, and anything else we find fun or relevant. I'm your host Sheldon, and I never worked a graveyard shift alone. Please say hello to my favorite plague of Egypt, my co-host Mike.
Hello, everybody.
And how are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm positively ecstatic. We got to finally pay homage to one of the masters of horror, and I am just buzzing at getting ready to talk about this.
Yes, I can't wait to talk about this one too. We decided while I was on vacation that when I got back, we were finally going to knock this one off the list. And yes, I was on vacation. I wasn't actually dead, so sorry.
Hey, see, we're talking same time. He's totally. It's not me doing his voice.
No, sorry to disappoint everybody, but I'm actually alive, and I'm back. It was nice. Had a long vacation with family. Got to visit some old friends, including our friend Robin, who actually filled in for me last week while I was gone. So that was pretty fun. So
you're saying you could have been in there with him on the show since you were in the same room as him, or could have been.
Well, I was in the same town as him. I could have, but I was with family,
I guess someone's more dedicated to the podcast than the other one. Just.
Oh, well, then, I guess so. But anyway, thanks to Robin for filling in with me. He did a great job, and I'm sure we're going to have him back. So,
Indeed. Well, he picked a good movie. I was happy.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that movie, but it's been on my list for a while, but now I especially have to check it out now after hearing you guys talk about it. So, got that on my list, but we've got another movie to talk about right now, and Mike, since you've been chomping at the bit for this one, why don't you tell everyone what we've got for them this week?
Today's episode is Good Phibrations, because we watched The Abominable Dr. Phibes, starring Vincent Price. Yes, Vinny!
That's right.
Vindication at last.
We've been waiting to do something by Mr. Price since we started this, but, being true to form, we've stuck with the request. Except this time, we decided, since I've come back, we wanted to do something that both of us were familiar with, that we could do with minimal effort, I guess. And Mike had just recently seen this one, so we decided to go for it. But before we get into the details...
It was our birthday, so we decided to treat ourselves.
That's right. We'll get back on the list next week. But for now, we're going to be doing The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and here's a little info on that movie. Released in April of 1971, The Abominable Dr. Phibes is a British film that is listed as a horror comedy. For some reason I don't understand, because I sure as hell didn't see anything comedic about it. And like Mike said, it stars the legendary Vincent Price. It had a budget of approximately $400,000, a runtime of 94 minutes, which is perfect. Has a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 86% and an audience score of 75%. And as for the plot, Anton Phibes blames a medical team that attended to his wife for her death 4 years prior, and sets out to exact vengeance on each one using the 10 plagues of Egypt as his inspiration. So Mike, before we get into the gory details, what are your overall thoughts on this one?
It depends on when you. It depends on me when you may have asked me. If you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have told you, "Oh man, I grew up watching this movie. It was being raised Catholic. I was already familiar with the plagues of Egypt. So to see God being taken as inspiration for murder implementations, I was just really ecstatic." Mm-hmm. Seeing like, all right, biblical murder. This is awesome. This is great.
Yeah,
and
God is a ruthless motherfucker.
Oh yeah. And then seeing it again after seeing so many horror movies, I guess seeing like a movie a week and a horror movie a week has tuned my senses differently, because now I'm watching this movie and I'm like, I enjoyed it, but I was noticing a lot of things with this movie. Mm-hmm. Still enjoyed it though. Vinny's great.
Yeah, I actually bought the DVD about a year ago, and I hadn't actually watched it until we decided that this is the movie that we were going to do on my return. I saw it for the first time probably when... I can't remember if it was in high school or college, but I know it was on TV late one night, and I was probably half falling asleep while I watched it, but I was thinking, like, wow, that movie was fantastic. Well, I mean, as soon as I saw Vincent Price, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I have to watch it anyway, because I just immediately watch anything that Vincent Price is in, good or bad. But I remember, like, thinking, like, wow, that movie was great, really liked it, and then watching the DVD, I'm like, I enjoyed it, but not for all the same reasons that I enjoyed it the first time that I watched it. And I guess watch it with a more discerning set of eyes now after, just watching so many horror movies over the past year or so.
Yeah, so this didn't age well for both of us.
No, it definitely lost some of its sheen, that's for sure. But, still enjoyed some of the grimy parts, I guess we'll say. But anyway, we're going to go into detail about the good and the bad. And when it comes to the good and the bad, this could be anything we want to talk about. We go into as much depth or keep it as simple as we want, whether it's an overall movie plot, a certain scene, a certain character, a certain line. It doesn't matter. If we enjoyed it, we'll talk about it. If we didn't, we'll break it down. So, as usual, we'll start with the good, and we'll start with the Mike. So, Mike, tell me something that you actually enjoyed about this movie.
Right off the bat, the beginning, we've got these, like this true to 1970s style lava lamp type font announcing the name of the movie, who's in it, with a wicked organ being played rising from the floor. It's an awesome start. It's classy, it's campy, with Dr. Phibes like throwing his hands in the air, like he's hitting way too many notes for one hand.
Yeah.
While the other one's up in the air doing that flare shit. But it's classy, it's campy, it's macabre, it's Vincent. Right off the bat, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, I'd actually like for somebody to do actually make a list of how many movies in the 70s started off with like that lava lamp effect in the credits. Because man, the 70s really loved those things.
Oh yeah, it was like you see it in posters so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Didn't even, I think, Frankenstein, the true story, didn't that start off with like a lava lamp effect in the credits?
I remember the lava lamp effect for the science experiments.
Oh, maybe. I remember. Anyway, I know it was pretty heavy. But yeah, man, the 70s, so many movies and TV shows had that effect. And, but yeah, right away, it sets you right up. You know you're in for some grade A cheese right at the beginning. So, first thing I got written on the list is that there was no doubt. I mean, we've already mentioned it. The legendary Vincent Price. As soon as he's on screen, he's just, I don't know, I got in my notes, I didn't know how else to describe it. Right away, he's Vincent Pricing. Because he is just being so grandiose, so over the top. And you haven't even heard him speak yet. He's just...
No, it's like if Vincent Price was in Phantom of the Opera.
Exactly. Yeah, so I had to make a note of that right away. It's like, no matter what else this movie brings forth, I'm sure I'm going to love Vinny in this one. Okay, so we've covered the opening and Mr. Price. What else you got for the good?
I wrote down here, more shitty cops.
Oh, man.
We got bees, bats, and frogs. But he can't be a pattern trout. And then we got like one cop with a... one cop seeing all these weird dead bodies and he's saying, lots of strange people practicing medicine these days.
Yeah, really.
The dialogue here is just so fucking bizarre. You can't be mad at it because it's just too nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's when I realized, wow, this movie had a heavier comedy element than I ever remembered. I remembered it being a straight horror movie.
Yeah,
I remember being terrified by this
I
thing.
did say in the beginning when I was given some details about the movie that I didn't see how this one was, a horror comedy. There was some comedic parts to it, like especially involving the first time you see the police officer, especially when he says, I can't even remember the police officer's name, but where's insert name here? And he says, I'm up here, sir. And he's like on top of a bookcase or something, or some kind of...
He's kneeling on top of an armoire with a magnifying lens, like he's checking for fingerprints on the top of the desk?
Yeah.
On the top of the wardrobe thing?
I mean, they did throw in a couple of like little quirky things like that, but not enough that I would call this a horror comedy. But
it tried to be a comedy. At least you know that they're trying to be a comedy.
did they try though? Really?
Well, try and succeed are
I
two
mean,
different things.
There's lots of serious movies that will put in like something like, you know, every once in a while throw in something a little funny, but it doesn't make it a comedy. But anyway, yeah, you mentioned about the cops, and like, yeah, definitely even back in the 70s, we had the trope in horror movies of the really bad cops. Although, saying they're really bad, one of them did put together, like after only 3 deaths, that Phibes was killing people using the 10 Plagues of Egypt as influence.
And you gotta give him credit because he managed to make that connection before the movie The 10 Commandments had come out, where people were already savvy towards the Plagues of Egypt.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just like a thing that people may or may not have paid attention to in Sunday school. There wasn't an epic movie about them.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a convenient plot device right there that he just seemed to guess it. It's like, frogs? Bats? The 10 Plagues of Egypt.
Quickly, to the Rabbi Mobile.
Okay, so what I got next on my list is just the sets were fantastic, and like most British horror movies of the time, like especially like when you think about the Hammer horror starting in the 50s, going through the 70s, man, they made some pretty impressive sets. Phibes' mansion, I guess you would call it.
Yes.
So weird, twisted, but just look, so much attention paid to detail.
It had like a 70s mod flair, but with 20s equipment.
Yes. Pretty advanced. Yeah, like it looked, for considering it was the 20s, it looked pretty advanced. I don't think that, you know, that was, it definitely wasn't a typical looking setting for a movie that took place in the 1920s. But they just went all out. Like, I mean, they were very detailed, very complex sets, and like I said, that was usually the thing when it came to British horror movies, that they went all out with the settings. Like, considering this was fairly low budget as well, pretty impressive.
Well, yeah.
Okay, do you have anything else for the good?
Oh, yeah. I liked Terry Thomas as Dr. Longstreet, the pervy film doctor.
Oh, yeah.
He was hilarious. And we've seen this guy before in many movies. What stands out for me was his appearance in the movie The Vault of Horror, where he plays this abusive husband who's constantly telling the wife everything has to be organized, everything has to be sorted properly, everything has a place for everything. And at the very end, it's part of one of those, it's an anthology horror. So at the end of his story, his wife drives an axe into his skull because she's had enough of the verbal abuse. And then we find out he's been literally organized, as there's jars with all of his parts on a shelf, stored neatly. So, and Terry Thomas, not to be confused with the guy that plays the father in Mary Poppins. And the big difference, that gap tooth. But, yeah, he was just amazing in this movie. Like, he's used to playing, like dry, spoiled, catty characters. And that came through in this. He's in the movie for a short time, but he's in here for a good time.
Yeah, until he gets all his blood drained. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say that not all of the kills were that impressively done, but there's one in particular that I had to make special note of. Because some you didn't even really see. I mean, you see the guy get attacked with rats, which was a decent kill, but, you know, like being attacked by rats, like when you're in a situation, like you're flying a plane, which, you know, takes a lot of concentration. And you can't concentrate because you're being gnawed on by about 100 hungry rats. So that, yeah, that was pretty cool. But I got to say, the highlight for me was probably the highlight of the movie, because this is what I remembered most of all. Actually, one of the scenes I remember most of all the first time I watched it was the nurse getting her face eaten by locusts.
Oh, yeah, that just...
You didn't actually see it happen, but you saw the aftermath, and considering that the movie so far at that point wasn't particularly gory, that was like a nice, like, pretty gooey kill. And I'm going to mention something else about this kill in another segment, but basically just poured some, was it like just some kind of like a sticky syrup or something that he poured on her face?
No, it was like a concentrated sauce made from sprouts.
Right, it was something to attract the locusts anyway.
Yeah, it was like just leafy sprouts and greens that were all boiled down to a green paste.
Right. Which would,
or a green sauce.
Since it's vegetative matter, I guess would attract locusts. And pour it on her face, and because the locusts are eating all this gooey, the liquid, the stickiness, the syrup, whatever it is, they ate her face with it.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah, and I thought, like I said, the first time I saw that, late at night as well, kind of sleepy, and then you just see this, like, oh, what's going on? He's pouring something over her face, and then just takes out this huge jar of locusts. I'm like, holy crap, that is psychotic. But, yeah, poor Nursey gets her face eaten off.
Oh, yeah, that stuck with me for a while. I'm just like, that is why kids have it right, and we sleep with the covers over our face.
Yeah.
It not only protects you from monsters, it also stops anyone from drilling cannibal sauce on you from the rafters.
Yes. So I'm going to come back to that kill later on as well in another segment. But, yeah, that one that one always stuck with me. And out of the kills, I think that was probably the highlight, but we'll talk more about that later. So what else? Do you have anything else for the good?
Well... One of my goods was talking about that with him making the sprout sauce with this large shoot, and it just like launches like a whole pile of them, like a third of them spill out of the cauldron. They're not even like going in. And then Volnavia, his assistant, brings up a plate, and this is when he starts getting fussy. And he starts like casting aside a few that just don't make the cut, but a few of them go into the cauldron. And then he like sticks his finger in and then places it through the back of his neck where I guess his tongue is now.
I guess so.
And the best part is we even hear it slurp.
Yeah.
So,
because
does he have like lips?
So we should probably mention it because I've got that on my good list as well. So since this kind of ties in, it's because we realized that towards the end of the movie that throughout the whole movie, he's not speaking. He is speaking, but he can only speak through, my best description of it would be an audio jack that he has in his neck, and he plugs like a gramophone type device into it.
Yeah, a nice, one of those big audio jacks. Not the 3x5, but the 1.8.
Yeah, and, I guess it's kind of like the 1920s. I don't think that actually existed in the 1920s, but for the sake of this movie, it was 1920s version of like the electronic voice box type of thing.
Yeah, he was a 20s Hawking.
Yes. And so he spoke in it was distinctively his voice. It was Vincent Price's voice, but he spoke kind of monotone, a bit robotic, and it sounded kind of labored, like there was big pauses between some certain words. And
I'm pretty sure they just told Vincent Price, just be a Dalek.
Pretty much, yeah. Speak like a Dalek. And so we realized, like, he did talk about, his wife, him and his wife being in an accident, his wife dying, and this was the whole point of the murders. He's going after the medical team that worked on his wife, and he believed that they didn't do everything they could have done to save her, so his revenge.
And he nearly died racing to get to her side when he heard that she was under the knife. And he suffers a massive accident. We don't get the details of it, but again, like, his jaw does not move.
His jaw doesn't move, so we just figure, okay, like, he had some facial injuries, and his face does look a little off, so you think he just had some facial injuries, some fractures there, and things now he can't actually speak, can't move his mouth at least. But then we get revealed towards the end of the movie that No, he's much more fucked up than we thought.
Oh yeah, like this is still the 20s. He did not get a facelift or anything. He got he got a literal facelift, as in his face is now lifted off.
Yes, he takes off his very, very complex mask that he's wearing. And so basically, yeah, he's like a Freddy Krueger underneath.
Oh no, Freddy Krueger had some skin. This guy's the Red Skull.
Yeah, there you go. That's closer actually. He's more Red Skullish for sure.
He's like Red Skull with TMJ.
Yeah. And so
Red Skull with tetanus.
So he's messed up, and so that explains, when he's trying this vegetable syrup that he's making, he gets something on his finger and sticks it in the back of his neck. So I guess he's got some access to his tongue there somewhere.
They couldn't repair his face, but they did manage to resituate the organs in his head.
Yeah. So they rearranged his digestive tract there.
Yeah, and the best part is, like, we notice that the cable goes in one side of his head, but whenever he drinks champagne or tastes, he always sticks his finger on the other side, which means he's got 2 neck holes.
Yeah.
But they never explain that.
No.
I guess, like, one side, I guess it would make sense because one side needs to have the jack to stick the cable into.
Yeah.
So he's got like 1 neck hole and 1 auxiliary port.
So, okay, did you have anything else for the good?
I do. I love how campy and pained Vinny is as Phibes. He's got like a campy, silly flair to him while also carrying a tragic demeanor. Like a man who's just... his grief does not end. There are no stages of grief with him. There's just one stage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just constant sorrow and anger. He doesn't want to bargain. He doesn't want to accept. He is just angry all the time. Yeah. And we've got that here.
And in full cheese mode, too. Like, Vincent Price is, like, at his formagius in this one. And it's perfect. Like, anyone else acting that cheesy, or I shouldn't say anyone else, but very few actors could deliver lines with such a cheese factor and actually make it work, like the way Vincent Price does.
Yeah, it's like you believe him while you're laughing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the best. Like there's no one that delivers cheese like he does. So I'm sorry. Was that it for the good? Just
I've got like 2 more. Are you done?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say that for somebody that's as little, like it has such a little attractiveness as Vincent Price, he had a lot of beautiful women in his life. His wife, wow.
Victoria Moore.
Yeah, we only see her in picture form, though, I think, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And his assistant as well.
Who is Virginia North.
Yes. Both very beautiful women.
What did I say his wife's name was?
I don't remember. I remember I saw her.
Yeah, Olivia Moore and Virginia North, I believe.
Yeah. I know that she, his wife, the actress that played his wife, or the actor whose picture they use for his wife, the actress, I saw her in an episode of Mystery Science Theater a little while ago. She was starred in this movie called Star Crash or something like this. And I can't remember for the life of me what the movie was called, but I know she starred in it. She was a Bond girl as well. So, yeah. Hot. So, I think that was all I had for my good list.
Caroline Munro, that's who she was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and her IMDb picture, son of a bitch, she is stacked.
Oh, yeah.
And still making movies. She's making a movie it's already in post-production called House of the Gorgon. And she was in a short in 2017 called Frankula.
Jesus.
And Crying Wolf 3D in 2015.
Oh, that was...
So
oh, yeah, the masterpiece.
Still a wicked scream. She is still a wicked scream queen.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a masterpiece.
So... Yeah, one of my quick ones was fucking up the chief inspector's car. That was a damn good laugh. Because when they're trying to find the doctor who is flying his plane around, his plane of rats, and the guy's trying to catch the car. He's trying to catch the plane with a 20s car, and it ain't happening. But he's opening this thing up full throttle, and he's trying to catch up to the car, wave to the guy, and the guy's just not noticing him because, well, the cockpit is full of hungry rats. But that guy comes back to the station, and the car is... this car is not used to being opened up. He's talking about how he had it all the way up to like 50 kilometers an hour, and how that can't be good for the motor. And then when the chief inspector shows up, "What'd you do to my car?" Oh, nothing. We're just leaning against it. We're just talking about the Phibes case. And he goes, "Good, this thing's very delicate." And then as soon as he takes off, the thing starts like conking out and petering out and dying. And he's like, "Oh shit, blah blah blah." Like the fact that he destroyed his boss's car for nothing because the doctor still got killed. It was just such a bad effort.
Mm-hmm.
And my last big good, well, the small one is Phibes drinking champagne through his neck hole. He's having dinner with Volnavia, and like I don't know what the deal is with this guy. He's having fancy parties with her every night, and yet he's supposed to be hung up on his wife. Like he doesn't seem to have like any romantic attraction to her, but he acts like he's dating her.
He
though.
does. Like they actually, it seems like, you know, they go through the motions of romantic, like they're having dinners and dancing, like romantic candlelight dinners and dancing, all these things. But like, there doesn't seem to be like, it doesn't. I mean, maybe they just didn't show that, but like, it doesn't seem like they have like a sexual relationship or anything. Like she's literally just a companion for him.
They're putting on a fancy dinner party every night for an audience of no one.
Yeah, except for the mannequin band.
The clockwork wizards or whatever there are.
Yeah.
But my biggest good and my final good, so we can finally be released, is the unicorn head. Because the cops finally show up to one doctor. He hasn't been attacked. They're keeping their eye on him. There's absolutely no way Phibes is going to kill this guy. They open the door to lead him to his chauffeur, and then he is immediately thrust against the wall. It's not a wall. It's like a... What the fuck would it be? It's like a semi-wall. It's like a semi-wall that you would put in front of a big door just so that people don't walk straight through it, that they need something to walk around. Anyway, that thing, it's like a semi-wall. We're going to call it that because it's not like a huge wall. And it doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling, I think. It's just like a part of a wall that's in the middle of the floor. Anyway, he gets pinned by that, and we realize that it's a horse head leaning into him. But when they look around the semi-wall, which, you know, if you know what this word is, please let us know in the comments so I never have to say semi-wall again. They look around the semi-wall, and they see a bloody unicorn. They see a bloody spiral horn, and they realize he's been pinned by a unicorn. And nobody rushes out the front door to see, like, where did it come from? What happened? If Phibes just did it that second, he'd still be around. No. They just decided they're going to unscrew him rather than, like, they don't even try to pull it out from the wall. It's like, it didn't screw to go in. It just pushed through, so you could just take it out. But they decide to unscrew the guy and the unicorn head from the wall. And this guy, he's not even, like... At this point, the head would be the only thing they rotate. But no, his legs start spinning around the semi-wall. We can see them show up from beyond the edge of the wall as they're fully rotating this thing constantly, as if he's gone into full rigor mortis 5 seconds after his death.
Yeah, pretty much.
At this point, he shouldn't even be dead. He should be gurgling and like, help me. But no, he is instantly dead. And full rigor, and they're rotating. I mean, you see his feet going up in a counterclockwise motion, and this guy's reading a newspaper as they're trying to release a corpse from a wall, and he's asking for quiet. Like, nobody is shocked at this sudden and brutal death, because They're that British.
Yeah, that is right. All right, so that is it for the good. Those are the parts we actually enjoyed about this movie. But now for the bad. And there's a few of those. First of all, this movie is fucking convoluted. It really makes no sense at all if you actually start. It's one that you have to turn your brain off and just enjoy it, because it really makes no sense whatsoever.
You have to turn your history off.
Oh yeah, that too. But there, it just how this guy just seems to be in the right place at the right time to catch these doctors. Some of the kills just make no sense of how like these people didn't get caught. Phibes and his assistants when they were pulling it off, especially since considering one of them when they were draining the porno doctor's blood. His assistant is literally out. They said it was 3 a.m. and she's outside his house playing violin.
And it's broad daylight.
Yeah, it's one of those I don't know, in England, is it daylight at 3 a.m? Because
it may be 2 a.m. New York time.
Maybe. But yeah, it just like the whole thing is just weird.
There's a fuck ton of inconsistencies.
Yeah. And just it's all over the place. Like, you prepare yourself if you're going to watch this movie, because it gets weird.
Don't expect this to be a smart movie.
No. But it seems like it tries to be. You know, it's trying to be very artsy.
The illusion of cleverness.
Because you get Phibes and his assistants having their romantic meals with the mannequin band, like these clockwork mannequins playing instruments, and everything is very grandiose. I don't know what the hell Phibes is wearing half the time. I think it's what they, in Britain in the 1970s, what they thought an Egyptian dressed like. But I don't know. It's baffling. It's just, you have to see it. So just be prepared. Like, the whole thing is like a freaking acid trip. Very psychedelic.
Most of my bads are pretty much on the same theme of this wasn't thought through well.
No. Definitely not.
Like, whether this being Phibes' plan or the script writing. It's like not thought out well on meta levels. Like, my first bad is death by a bird cage full of bats. Like, 8 bats tops, if that cage was stuffed. He could have just, like, this guy could have just smashed the bats with his fists, ripped them apart with his hands, or just hide under his covers until they tire out and sleep.
Yes!
And he can leave. Or just fucking leave while draped in the sheets. Worst case scenario, if they had rabies, you only have 6 fucking days to get an afterbite vaccination. I mean, Phibes is counting on a lot of unreasonable things to go right for this kill to be pulled off.
Honestly, like, I was gonna say
most of these kills work because these people let themselves get killed.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's I said the same thing for this one. When the guys kill with bats, it's like, really, you could not get away from those bats? Like, wrap yourself in a blanket so they can't bite you. Like, just cover yourself in something. Stick your head in a pillowcase. Like, something.
Yeah, kid rules. A 5-year-old kid already knows enough to survive this.
Yeah.
You just throw a blanket on, get inside, or if you have a closet with a door, you just throw yourself into that closet. Worst case scenario, if you get followed, 1 bat is in there, and that's enough. You can kick 1 bat's ass.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, those bats, if I was there, I probably would have gotten bitten. Don't get me wrong. I would have probably gotten bitten the fuck, but I would have dealt with that. But those bats would have been dead.
Oh, yeah. And to top it all off, here's the real kicker. These were, like, when you just get to see the close-up of these things, you can see they are obviously definitely fruit bats.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And when they aren't on strings. And finally, regarding the bats, when were bats a fucking plague of Egypt?
Yeah, I didn't remember that one being a plague of Egypt. Like, I didn't exactly look it up or anything like that, but
I did. You'll be hearing more on that later.
Okay. So yeah, so there's a few deaths where I think like people could have gotten away easy enough. For instance, the guy frozen to death in his car. Did he just sit there in his car and just let himself be frozen to death?
You think that when Phibes is putting this shit in the car, that it could show Volnavia like either welding or nailing the door shut, like something that would indicate this is why this guy cannot just open his fucking door and get out. Smash a window if the door is welded shut. There is no... Again, these people let themselves get killed as if they've got nothing better going on in their lives. No reason to fight. No reason to survive. It's just, oh, well, he went through all this trouble. It would just be impolite to just not let him get his way. I mean, he worked so hard for it.
Pretty much, yeah. So... Okay, so yeah, that was it. And I didn't really... It's weird because this movie is not great. I'm certainly not going to say it's one of Vincent Price's classic movies that you absolutely have to see. But I also couldn't come up with like a lot of bad things about it. It wasn't incredibly exciting. The movie is kind of dull. So I know I said it was like a psychedelic acid trip. Also, though, a very mild one, and it's just the whole thing just comes off dull. The only thing you're watching it for is Vincent Price.
Yeah, make sure to watch this movie with somebody so that you have somebody to bitch to, because you will be bitching.
The story, it's simple, but still somehow a bit convoluted, if that makes any sense. The kills are nothing spectacular, especially since you don't really see the actual death happen in most cases. You see the after effects, and I mean, it's not a gory movie by any stretch. Like, so the nurse getting her face eaten off was probably the goriest part. So really you're just watching this for Vincent Price.
Death by quick cuts.
Yeah. So... I gotta say, though, I did enjoy the frog mask as well. That was...
Yes.
I should have put that on my good list, because that was pretty funny. The guy gets... Basically, it's a masquerade party, and the guy's wearing a frog mask, and old Dr. Phibes has a device installed in the mask so that it strangles the person wearing it.
Yep, an auto-tightener.
Yeah, and when I say strangle, I don't mean just cut off their air supply, because at the end there's actually blood spurting out of the mask, out of the eye holes.
Like this thing, I don't know if there's a blade. Like, I don't know if there's a blade inside the mask or something.
I don't think there is. I think it was just like it got that tight that like he's just like spurting blood from the pressure.
Yeah, that's my next bad is the frog head death, because he's being choked by this thing. I get that the neck is being crushed by this thing, but yet he can stand and scream and act in agony, but not gesture to anybody, like, get this fucking thing off of me.
International sign for choking, dumbass. Maybe it wasn't invented in the 20s, but there is an international sign for choking.
If he can gesture at, again, like, if you can scream, you can say, help, my mask is crushing me, get this off me, please.
Yes.
This isn't a bit.
If you can scream, you can probably actually speak, so...
Yes, and yeah, if you can scream, you can breathe. And again, why is he bleeding from the mask? If this thing is just crushing his throat, what's he bleeding from? It could be the fact that he takes a somersault down the stairs.
Well,
I mean,
I put a note there as well, because you see him like lightly, like, you know, he falls on his back and slides down the stairs. It cuts to...
He stops in the middle.
Then it cuts to Vincent Price looking at him intently. Then it goes back to him, and he's doing like a full-on backflip down the stairs.
He's doing a somersault. Oh my gosh.
So, I'm just trying to think of how like it looked to Vincent Price. So the guy started sliding down the stairs on his back, stopped, stood up, and then did a somersault down the rest of the stairs.
Oh my god. And here's another thing that makes you wonder what the fuck is going on, but we're not at that section yet, is the guy who died from the frog mask mentions he's a psychiatrist, not a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So, did he give Phibes bad advice in his grief to find, like, religion in times of pain and to seek answers from a higher power?
He said that it was, he went after the medical team that worked on his wife, and she died in 6 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
And so, was he psychoanalysis, like giving her psychoanalysis while she was on the operating table? So
everybody was stressed out, so he was there for moral support.
Like, I know, like, you have life-threatening injuries right now, and you're under heavy anesthetic, and you're getting surgery performed, but how are you really feeling? Do you blame this on your father? So yeah,
do you think your cancer had anything to do with your father interfering with you as a child?
Yeah, I actually got down my notes. Psychiatrist.
Do you have any more bad? I've got two.
Not really. This whole movie is bad. It's like 75% bad.
Great. It's great, but it's fucking awful. It's great despite being awful.
Yeah, I don't need to go into details about like the. It's just not a good movie. Like I said, the only reason why you're watching this is just for Vincent Price. If you're a Vincent Price fan, you'll like it just for him because he's doing his usual over the top. Like I said, he's just Vincent Pricing the whole time.
Yeah. He's like a more competent Batman villain.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know what category to put this in, but because it doesn't really belong in either of the 3 categories. But did you think that maybe this movie could have been an influence on the Saw series?
Definitely.
People being killed by like intricate trap type of deals, especially at the end when the doctor has to save his son. Operate on him to remove a key to move him out of the path of acid that's going to fall down on him any moment.
Where you need skill and to make a critical choice in order to save yourself from a fatal situation. Whoever wrote the Saw movies must have seen this and thought, what if I made this but took all the garbage and the cheese and the stupidity out of it?
And amped up the gore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, my two bads is he can't play the organ and hit all those fucking notes while waving one hand in the air. I'm not a musician, but I know he's making way too many sounds with one hand. Mm-hmm. And to shit on the nurse kill, which I loved it. I mean, that after effect was great, but again, like how they let themselves get killed. Because this nurse has to be already dead, since she slept through having sawdust falling on her face, and then getting a sprout sauce bukkake without moving.
Okay, now I don't know how like everyone else sleeps. I guess I'm kind of a light sleeper. I'm pretty sure if somebody drilled a hole in the ceiling above my head while I'm sleeping, it would have woken me up.
If not the noise, because it is like a hand drill.
Yeah.
So. But when sawdust and plaster start falling on your face, at that point, that's when you start like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how good this dream is.
I'm pretty sure I would have woken up long before the locusts started eating my face.
Yeah, and, like, even if she is a deep sleeper, she doesn't need the locust because her head is fucking completely covered in this sprout sauce. So if she's a deep sleeper, she's already suffocated.
Yes.
You don't need the locusts. She's already dead.
Yep. She gets a green facial and then just gets bugged. And man, these locusts are... He's not fucking around with these locusts either. They are not tiny things.
Yeah, they're
Holy
massive.
shit.
But did you... Yeah, so you got the picture I sent you of that?
Yeah.
You remember what I said?
I don't know, man. You say a lot of things.
And apparently you don't listen to them. Okay, so anyway, a little internal strife for the show here. But I sent you the picture of her face covered in green sauce. And I wrote down the Jolly Green Giant had to make some questionable films before he got his big break in commercials.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was it. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm all out of bad. And boy, we got some what the fucks, but I'll try to be brief so that we keep it under an hour and a half. An hour.
Yeah, so oh my god. Okay, so I got a couple of what the fucks for sure. First of all, Vincent Price's head got bigger after he took off his mask. Like, that skull mask was huge.
It's like a TARDIS.
And, okay, so that was just one. I just had to make a note of that. And I was like, it doesn't go into good or the bad. It's just like, holy shit.
That definitely is a what the fuck.
And then...
His mask is a TARDIS.
Pretty much, yeah. And then the next what the fuck, I had to put this down. So, and again, it goes back to what I thought was, the best kill of the movie, the Locust Lady again. But going back to before she's killed, he sneaks into the house where she's sleeping.
It's a hospital.
Oh, yeah, right. He's in a hospital room. But he's in the ceiling. Kills her by drilling a hole into the floor.
Yeah, the room above.
Yeah, drills a hole in the floor.
Was it in here? Yeah.
Pours the
sketchy
pours the
ass.
syrup on her head and releases the locust. That's how she dies. But before that, he can't just drill a hole in the floor. He puts this picture of a naked woman, like a sketch, on the floor. This like full-size sketch on the floor, and drills the hole directly through the sketch's head.
Like, if he knows where to lay down this tarp,
What?
then he already knows where to fucking.
It's like, how is that necessary? Wait, like, would he have missed if he didn't put that?
He clearly did miss, because the first time he drizzles that sauce down, it hits the lamp by her bed. So he's already fucked up.
Like, why?
And yet somehow, through that narrow hole, he manages to completely aim the hose, which is a slow drip, not a spray. So he has a limited field of... Like, gravity is doing most of the work here.
Yeah, like, it's... I just thought that was so weird. And apparently getting your face eaten by locusts makes your hair turn gray as well.
And apparently, like, why the fuck was her skull green?
Yeah.
If the locust ate everything that was on her face, which I assume was her skin, why is the skull green?
Yeah, it's true. The skull definitely has a green twinge. But I just couldn't get over the fact that her hair turned, like, completely different color after her face got eaten. Because that was the only wig that they had in the props department or something? I don't know.
She got polydoried.
She turned into like a Halloween prop. Yeah.
My first what the fuck is... Oh yeah, we already... I guess we'll just... we'll glance past it. Frogman falls downstairs. Instead of sliding down, he does a somersault and bounces down the steps.
He stops mid-slide to do a somersault.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's like watching an LMFAO video where someone just has to break into a shuffle down the stairs. So my first what the fuck here is Dr. Phibes spends all his time on revenge when he could sell his throat-speaking technology to rest homes, refrigerators and air conditioners, or his animatronics to cruise ships, or create the first Chuck E. Cheese, or just release records of his future music that wasn't out in the 20s, like Frank Sinatra's One for the Road, Another One for the Road, which he performed in 1947, 22 years after this movie takes place. And also Somewhere Over the Rainbow came from The Wizard of Oz, but we hear a version of it again taking place in the 20s. And, like, he could just be a rich motherfucker and just have nightly dress-up parties with his hot assistant forever.
Yep, that is true. Weird shit, man. Okay, did you have anything else that fits in the what the fuck category?
Oh, yeah.
All right, what do you got?
What the hell is Volnavia? Is she an assistant or some or some summoned demon or a creation of his?
I have no idea.
Why doesn't she speak? Why does she help him? Did he put out an ad for attractive silent assistant that must be willing to wear ludicrous clothing and lure men to their death through elaborate biblical stories? Did he create her as his ultimate clockwork homunculus?
Well, at first time I watched this movie, I was wondering if like she actually existed, if he was just seeing her, before, at the beginning of the movie. I mean, if he was just like, if that was his wife, he was just imagining it. And then I realized, like, no, actually, the picture of his wife doesn't look like that. It's a different woman, but is he actually seeing her? But then I realized, no, well, she's interacting with other people, so he's not imagining her. She's actually there, but did she speak throughout the whole movie? Did she speak at all during the movie?
She screams when she gets the acid.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
So she apparently has vocal cords. She just chooses not to speak.
Yeah, so she can speak. But yeah, that was pretty good. She just walks into the path of the acid.
Acid?
Yeah.
You said acid.
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I have a stroke?
I don't know if you've been drinking, buddy.
Just this water and this very big glass of scotch.
So like, how many what the fucks do you have? Because I can't imagine you just having one.
No, I had 2, so that's good. I'm good.
Oh well, then I guess I'm just blasting through these. I can do this. Then we'll still be. We'll get it done in under an hour and 10 minutes. So the cop asked Dr. Longstreet. He asked Dr. Longstreet's maid about hearing a violin being played at 2 a.m. We see her playing it in broad daylight, and also if she was close enough to hear this being played, she had to be in the house. So why didn't the doctor scream for any help whatsoever, since he was never gagged or drugged? And apparently his servant is in the house. Also, she didn't seem very distraught. She seemed pretty happy with him being dead in the room during her questioning. Also, why the fuck are they questioning her with the body right there?
Yeah, the body's still sitting in the chair.
And when he says like, I'm so sorry for the loss of your employer, and he gives her she says like, oh, he was nice to me, and then he gives her a look like she was his live-in boo.
Yeah,
like his friends with benefits. Also, regarding this guy, he's been drained and dehydrated. He's sitting up perfectly straight. What the fuck is holding his head up? He should be slumped forwards, backwards, to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he sitting up perfectly away from this chair? And also, why did Dr. Vesalius bring out a big pile of files for all of his surgeries, only to walk away to a different pile as he narrows down surgeries he did with each various doctor? Because he says, oh, by the way, but one surgery where I worked with all of them was this one file. So he set up 3 piles of various irrelevant files of working with dead doctors for what? Dramatic effect? Bragging about his surgeries?
Yeah, really.
And regarding the doctor who gets frozen in his car, when Phibes gets this guy to operate on his car, with Valnavia being like the damsel in distress, and Phibes walks up behind the chauffeur and gives him the Vulcan nerve pinch.
Yeah, just touches him.
Just
touches him.
Was Vinny a Star Trek fan?
I guess so.
They're just like, kill him in some interesting way. Oh, I've got just the thing.
Do you see it on Star Trek and just think that like people can just do that?
And then the best part is this chauffeur, he's still sprawled out, face in the dirt. And the police are standing over him saying he's in shock. It's like, no, when someone's in shock, they're awake but not responsive. He is still knocked the fuck out. And nobody is trying to wake him to get any information about this murder that happened. Again, also, why didn't the doc try to open his fucking car door at least when his chauffeur was being attacked? And how does this refrigerator device work without an exhaust port to displace the heat in the car, or not have tanks filled with liquid nitrogen? And the best part is, we see that he would have to place the end of the hose through this window and then go into the back to attach that metal fletching or arrow tail that he has as a dispenser. All this time, the Doctor doesn't fight or flee.
Nope.
And then the policemen say that Phibes' money was transferred to a woman, but never do they give her a name or visit her. They've already identified her as a suspect, but they don't even say, oh, woman, Miss Valnavia or anything. We have to wonder, like, if Phibes gave her that name.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the groundskeeper, he's like, this groundskeeper, what the fuck is this guy's story? As soon as he comes in, as soon as the cops visit Phibes' grave, the groundskeeper for the cemetery says, "Fools, the worms will have them soon."
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
What the fuck? Is he in on this? Or does he just hate the living?
No idea. Like, I that came out of nowhere, and he's not even ever seen again after that. Just...
I know, you'd think that he was one of Phibes' like extra assistants, like that he would be his informant, like, oh, the cops came around him looking at your tombstone, Mr. Phibes. And then the cops, they stress that Phibes studied music in Germany, and we know this because he's an organist, and theology in the Sorbonne in France, to know about the plagues of Egypt, which, you don't have to study for years at any school. You could just go to any rabbi in an afternoon to learn about that, or just read the Bible for like 10 minutes. What he should have studied was engineering, which would justify the clockwork musicians, the portable refrigerations, the fully verbal vocal fold sound amplification, which somehow manages him to make full sentences despite the fact that he's speaking with syllables that one can only make with a tongue against teeth. And he's not using either of those, and yet he's using all the letters and sounds of the alphabet. Again, like, this is the biggest what the fuck, is the rabbi. It's not my last what the fuck, but this is the biggest, because the rabbi, he opens up this scroll to show us the all the plagues, but he's reading it left to right, when Hebrew is read right to left, and he emphasizes, like, he makes sure to explicitly tell us that these plagues follow a specific order. And in the movie, we're seen as boils, bats, frogs, blood, hail, rats, beasts, locusts, death of the firstborn, and darkness. When, if you watch the Ten Commandments movie or just took a look at the Bible quickly, you'll see that the Ten Commandments are water turning to blood, frogs, gnats, lice, and other biting insects, vicious beasts, diseased livestock, boils, thunderstorms with hail and fire, locusts, darkness, and then the death of the firstborn. So this rabbi sucks at Hebrewing.
He just made a bunch of them up.
And the last two quick ones is his neck hole seems to keep switching locations because his speaking rig is in the left of his neck, but he drinks and tastes with the right side of his neck. And finally, Valnavia, in the last scene, she's dressed up with a hat like a fucking sundew.
Yeah.
You've seen these plants, right?
Mm-hmm.
The sundew plant. It's like colored beads on stalks, which have a sticky mucus, a sugary glue. And when bugs and insects go to eat that sugar, they end up getting trapped and then the whole thing curls up on it. And her hat looks like this. And considering, and she's worked all this rigging, and she doesn't keep track of where the acid dispenser is.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb. She's just, like I said, she just walking through the acid, like just...
Yeah, she's like running from these cops, which, considering how stupid they are, she should have just charged at them with the axe. Like she does at one point, but then we see her being chased by them. So, yeah, I'm all out of what the fucks now.
Yeah.
It was a heavy one.
It was, yeah. This whole movie is a giant what the fuck. So check it out. Well, guys, that is this week's movie, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, except for one thing. I think, Mike, you got one more thing to quickly talk about.
Oh, yes, my kill of the week. close second is the frog in the throat with, and it gets the second place honorable mention because at one point as this guy's getting crushed and we can see his vision turning red, which I guess that's what happens when you get strangled, all the blood goes in your eyes. That's probably where the blood is spraying from his eyes.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's the softest point on the head. Anyways, he's saying his dying line is, "Oh, this is jolly tight," which is such a British way to die.
Yeah, definitely. So British. That's going to be on his tombstone.
But the honor for top kill goes to the brass unicorn for surprise, gore, and hilarity.
Oh, okay, right. You're right.
Yeah.
That one was a surprise, so I can see you picking that one. I personally still would have went with the Locust Lady, but
I would have, but I wanted to because before I saw this movie recently, I would have gone with that because that was the one that I remembered the most. But seeing it again with fresh eyes, I'm just like, I'm asking way too many questions for this to be the kill of the week. like there are so many times she should have woke the fuck up.
Yeah, you're right.
At least this one, it's justified that this guy should have been killed. It's just too quick for anyone to react. There's no stupidity involved, except for the cops trying to unscrew him rather than leaving and looking for Phibes trying to escape. But, the stupidity it wasn't from the victim, so it gets the kill of the week.
Mm-hmm. No, good choice. I can see you going with that. I still would have went with Locust Lady, but I can see that one. Well, guys, that is the Abominable Dr. Phibes. What do you think of this movie? You agree with our opinion on it? Disagree? Questions? Comments? Whatever you got, you can contact us through email at graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/graveyardshiftpod. Or check us out on the Instagrams. We're there now, so you can check that out. And on Instagram, we are the Graveyard Shift Pod. You like where this show is going? Do you think we could make some changes? Whatever, you have some movie suggestions, whatever it is, that's all the ways you can contact us. Or if you just want to say hi, just do that. We just like chatting with you guys. If you'd like to make a donation to help keep the show going, then you can do so at www.patreon.com/graveyard. For as little as $1 a month, you help out the show immensely with the production costs. And also, you get the instant gratification of getting access to some Patreon-exclusive bonus content. Every month, we post a new Patreon-exclusive episode, and we do those a little different than what we do for the regular show, so check those out. They're a lot of fun. But of course, we understand not everyone has the money to give us money. You can still help out the show a ton by going on to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe. Honestly, in the long run, that's the best way to help us out. And if you're not an Apple user, whatever method you're using to find the show, I'm sure there's some way to do the same, rate, review, subscribe. If you could do that, we would greatly appreciate it. And
tell your friends.
Tell your friends, either on social media or even word of mouth. If you know some people that would like to hear a podcast about a couple of guys talking about horror movies, then tell them to check us out.
If you're at a party when people have their phones on the tables, just walk up, subscribe on their behalf, and see if they notice.
That's right. And guys, we have an opportunity. We've realized that we're very close to meeting the threshold on Podbean, which is the service we use to produce the show. We're very close to having the amount of downloads per week, the average amount of downloads per week required to have paid ads placed on our show, so that would help us out a lot. So, if you can drum up some extra listeners for us, we would be ever so grateful. But guys, we just want to thank you, seriously. You guys are great. Downloads continue to grow. There's lots of discussion on our social media about the movies we watch, and you guys keep those suggestions coming in, so please keep it up. We thank you very much for it. Great to be back. Mike, I missed you, buddy.
Same here.
So good. I'm glad to know though that things were in good hands. The show didn't completely disintegrate while I was gone, so that's good to know.
A little turbulence, but made it through.
No, this guy. Seriously, you guys are great. Robin's awesome. He's such a cool guy. We actually got to hang out a couple of times while I was on vacation. We got to just go out for coffee one night, have a chat, and we actually went out to a movie one night. So that was awesome. And but guys, thank you so much for listening to us this week. We're going to be back again next week with another movie to cover. Until then, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Mike.
And thank you for joining us on the Graveyard Shift.
Can you dig it?
Wrong episode, Vinny.